Good morning. I just had a shower, so I'm doing my skin. Just taking care of my skin while I'm talking. Um, I've been up for a bit, as you can see from my posts. Um, woke up to YouTube trying to hound me for something that wasn't even on public display. So I know this is Trump and Muscat trying to get me into trouble with my channel because I've managed to shut all my social media down, like my Instagram, and um, apparently my vision board isn't within Instagram's guidelines and stuff. And I'm fraudulent because I use a VPN and I'm not playing by the rules, blah, blah, blah. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about curses. I'm going to explain to you how curses work and why they're not something you mess around with. Why, when a curse is set upon you, you don't want to take it lightly, and why curses aren't what you think they are. Now, I've lost a lot putting this stuff out. The email that I got this morning about my channel because of something that I put up that's been up for years, by the way. There has never, when I first put it up, I actually still have the email where they said that it wasn't a copyright infringement and that it wasn't going to be a strike against me, that I was fine. And now all of a sudden, um, this video that was put on private weeks ago was now couldn't be shown in two regions, whatever that meant. The reason why I took it down is because I wondered, when I was listening to the music on my Spotify, um, when the music slowed down, if it was because of the electromagnetic pulse, the direct energy weapon that they use. They tried to mess with my phone. I had one bar on my phone for nearly 2 days in my area, and I knew it was directed on Outwood where I live because as soon as I took myself out of Outwood and went in towards Wakefield, all the bars came up on my phone. So I knew that it was targeted in Outwood and it was affecting other people in my neighbourhood as well. So they came after me for something that wasn't public, something that may have been used. I may have accidentally recorded them using an electromagnetic pulse weapon on my property. I deleted it anyway because I thought, look, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I've got more than enough evidence on my phone. But when I was thinking about it, I thought this would be a good idea to talk about curses. And because I'm sending a direct message to Mr. Donald Trump, because I know he'll be listening because he's obsessed, and I can tell he's listening because every day that goes by and the more stuff happens to me, the more insane he's getting. And remember, I said that when people try to access you, well, when people try to access me, I have a default setting. I have my own electromagnetic barrier that if you come near me, what you send to me bounces off me and goes back into you. Because I radiate light, because I emit light, and I am of a light frequency, it doesn't make me a sucker, and it doesn't make me naive. It makes me protected by God. I am protected. I'm protected by the planet. I'm protected by my ancestors. I'm protected by the brethren. I am protected by God. And so I walk in truth and I have no fear. I'm not blinded by rage and jealousy and greed and lust and all of that sort of thing. My frequency is completely pure and they hate that. I trigger the demons of some very, very evil people that I have been exposing. However, only a couple of people in my life have curses. And I want to explain to you how they work in Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and my ex husband Chris are cursed. But in my culture, we call them Utus. And an Utu is the curse of karmic consequences. And not everybody on this planet, contrary to popular belief, has the power or the authority, the mana, to put a curse on someone. Now, if you want to look at what the blanket term of what a curse is, it just means the rule of karmic consequences, that the burden of karmic consequences, the burden of holy judgment. That's pretty much what a curse is. But just because you put a curse on someone doesn't mean they're going to be cursed. Because if the universe and their ancestors and their God and their high council um, know that they're innocent, then they won't be cursed and the curse comes back on you. But if you do put a curse of karmic utu, just call it a utu, on someone, and they feel the effects of it, it's because the universe, the ancestors, the High Council, and God have judged them guilty. Therefore, you are allowed to pass judgment onto them and they will feel the full force of karmic consequences, which is what's happening to Donald Trump, because he won't leave me alone. But I'm not the only one coming after him now. I basically pointed my finger of point, my finger of judgment. I pointed at him, and now other people are going after him. And it's in the courts and that as well. So all I did when I put my utu on Donald Trump is I called him out. He was assessed by God, by his ancestors, by the Council of Elders, by the planet, by everybody who has ever been harmed by him that is no longer living. They judged him and they decided, yep, he needs to be held accountable for what he's done. The same thing with Elon Musk, the same thing with my ex husband. They're now feeling the effects of my utu because they didn't listen. They were told to leave Vladimir Putin alone. Everyone was told to leave Vladimir Putin alone a long time ago. And no one listened. And now they're going to feel the effects of the utu. The reason why I'm allowed to do this, why I'm allowed to put utus on people, is because I was born for the role. Okay? My name is Debbie. I was named after Deborah in the Bible, one of the only women that God ever wrote about in the Bible, and she was a karmic judge. She was a judge. She was a conjurer. She was a poet. She was a singer. She was a warrior, and I was named after her. My middle name is Lee. So I'm a karmic judge, like bee of the meadow. Debbie means bee. And like a normal honeybee, we're either sweet or we will sting you. I was also born into the sign of Scorpio. My sun sign, my star sign is Scorpio. My black moon, my 12th sign is also Scorpio. My Lilith is Scorpio. My rising sign is Libra. And because I am an ascended soul, my ascending sign sits in the house of judgment and balance and communication. Being a Scorpio, I am the ruler of the occult. I am the ruler of death. I am the ruler of birth. I am the ruler of resurrection and sex. But, you know, so I was born into this role. I am an occult physicist. I am the only person who has put an entire science behind the occult. There are people out there who will claim to be able to do what I do, and even calling themselves occult physicists, and there is zero physics to anything that they do. I am being copied, which is, you'll see I took a lot of my tunes and stuff down because apparently AI is going around nicking people's music content and tutorial content and that off people's YouTube channels, and now people on YouTube are putting together lawsuits to sue because these people are going around using the AI to steal people's content to sell as tutorials, basically. So now YouTube's going to be bombarded with a whole pile of lawsuits, and I'll have to be one of them because of the fact that my movie, The Dear Satan Cause, was stolen from X, Musk, and YouTube by Donald Trump and Kushner, and the whole Paramount Plus thing. You know the whole thing. So that's why I put the curse on them. And now you can see everything that's happening to them. Um, they're being run out of countries. They are now the most hated people on the planet, which the ancient curse said was going to happen. The people that came after you, and my teacher specifically said they would be blonde, and Trump was blonde. The people who come after you will become the most hated people in the world. And when it's over, you'll be celebrated. The whole world will know your name, and you'll be seen as like the savior, not like Jesus, the messenger. I'm the one who's bringing the messages that's going to save people from darkness. And that darkness is Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Von der Leyen, all of them. You know who I'm up against. Now, all I've had to do, with vampires, if you kill the head vampire, it takes the nest down. All I have to do is take Trump out, and the rest will fall as a consequence, because he's going to be taken down in courts of law, and the losses that people like him and Musk have will be so great that it will expose his connection to everybody else, like Starmer in the EU, and they're already being removed anyway because of um, the laws of convex linear reversion. Because remember, I said when I was working on that theory, when I was working on that hypothesis of people targeting your protective barriers and it bouncing back, I used Donald Trump and Keir Starmer in the EU and Zelensky in that as an example. When I put that protection over Vladimir Putin, Russia, with the help of Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mother. So remember, I was calling it the strongman effect. But then I had to give it a scientific name because I thought if I want it to be taken seriously, we can call it the strongman effect, but it needs a proper name. So I gave it the name, the laws of convex linear reversion, which means whatever you send to someone, it comes back on you in a way that creates shockwaves around the people who helped you first, and it zeroes in on the intended target, because then they're forced to watch everybody around them, including their loved ones, fall and fall down into the abyss before they do. So they're forced to suffer for the actions of what they did when they targeted the person that they set their sights on, which in Donald Trump's case is me, which in Elon Musk's case is me, which in Chris's case is me. And this is why I'm so powerful, and this is why I get the gifts and powers and all of that I do, because of all the thousands of people that have done me wrong. I only went after the 3 people who even God admits deserve it the most. So if you see everything that's happening to Donald Trump at the moment, how it's come out, everything that I said about him is now being exposed. And now that his Attorney General, that Blanche, has been forced to hand over unredacted Epstein file stuff, which means a whole lot of people are now about to be exposed, which is the effects of convex linear reversion. Everything they sent to me is now coming back on them and taking down their nearest and dearest first. So Donald Trump is watching Blanche, Rubio, Patel, his own kids, Barron, Melania, Dorcas and Dinkus, Ivanka, Jared, all his nearest and dearest. He's watching them all getting sacrificed because he came after me. And he didn't listen when I said, don't touch Putin. And now the same thing's going to be happening in Starmer's life, and it's happening in Elon Musk's as well. remember I put up that dream. When was it? Last year or the year before, where I was sitting on the North Star and that man was behind me crying, and the voice of God said, "I've had enough of these people. I'm setting the world on fire to teach them a lesson." And when I said to the man, "Why are you crying?" He said, "I don't know. I was asleep, and the next thing I know, I found myself up here." And I said, "Don't worry, you'll be safe." And then I was down on the ground looking at my telescope up at the Star of Brihenus and the Cepheus constellation, which is a North Star. The North Star, the North is the top of the compass, so I am always facing north. I am always on the up. I am always rising because I know how this works, and I'm a good girl. I can just make bad things happen to even worse people because I'm ordained to do it. I did the work. I earned the right. However, because I was watching a video the other day on Mr. Ballin about a man who paid a lot of money to put a curse on his wife so she wouldn't leave him. And then she ended up going missing and her body was never found. Um, the links are in the description box below because I wanted to see what happened. But I mean, it's obvious that he took her out. But what people need to understand is you can pay as much money as you like to curse as many people as you want. But if they haven't done anything wrong, if the only reason why you're coming after them is because of jealousy or lust or greed or envy or something like that, the curse will never affect your target. It will always come back on you and the practitioner because the practitioner is supposed to know better. They are taking laws that they aren't allowed to have access to. It's like someone going around pretending to be a police officer with a fake badge or a judge with a fake gavel. It will always come back on the people who paid for the curse and always come back on the one who did put the curse out because you have to have permission. Because when you have access to that kind of power, that you can change and affect the course of somebody's life to the point where they are made by the universe to pay for the consequences of their actions. That is a responsibility that you cannot take for granted. So you have to earn the right. So you're put through an ascension, you're put through hell, you're put through judgment, you're made to pay off karmic debt, you're made to, pay off ancestral debt, you're made to do the work. Many are called, few are chosen. But the reason why there's only a few that are chosen is because very few people actually pass the test. My students failed abysmally. Everybody that got the Judas test with me failed abysmally. And now, because of envy and jealousy, they came after me along with all the rest of them. They're now facing the curse of karmic consequences because they followed Musk and Trump and Chris. So the three instigators, the whole three reasons why I lost everything, I was put in the situation I was in, even though Rocio and Rhea and that were the ones that kicked it off, the people who wielded the most ultimate power over me were the ones that have access to my personal life, my freedom, through the law, through social media, controlling who sees what they're allowed to see, if I'm allowed to put anything out, whether I was allowed to breathe air, eat food. That was all because of Musk, Trump, and Chris. And so, of all the people in my life, even the people that, like the doctors and everything, through the course of me taking those three down, all the rest will fall because they all followed the leader, not realizing that their leader was Lucifer, Baphomet, and Baal. And I say Baal because I always call Musk Baphomet, but he's become obsessed with money, so now he's Baal, and Chris is Baphomet because he's the one that goes around sleeping with a lot of people, a lot of people with, unprotected, and he's obsessed with status. And he was determined to break up the happy family home where my boys were happy with their mother because we were safe and we were getting ready to step out into the world and all of that sort of thing. And he stole from me and it's all about image, and that's Baphomet, the LGBT, and he likes the gay sexuals. He's bi. He hides it, but he is. And now Musk has moved up to Baal, who's obsessed with money. Baal is obsessed with money, and he requires sacrifices. And if you know anything about the Celeste David case, I really think he needs to be investigated. And then we've got Molech, which is now Trump, Lucifer, the one who eats babies through McDonald's and all of that. So now they've taken their place. God has lined them up and given them specific roles to play within the sinking of the opening up of the abyss. Those three have been put into position in a triangular position for my target. Because when I fired my bow, when I pointed my finger of point, my finger of justice, they immediately triangulated, like the Illuminati triangle. Well, I'm the all-seeing eye in the middle, and it's pointed right at them. And when I take my shot at Trump, Musk and Chris will go down with him, and I've taken my shot. Um, because I lost a lot when I said he was that he was rigging elections, and now it's come out. Everybody knows he's trying to rig the election. He's trying to break the law to rig the election. Um, Putin now knows that Trump screwed him over with the peace talks, and I had said, with the help of Zelensky's letter, when they had that meeting in Alaska, there was no intention for them to reach a peace deal because Trump and his sons, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Palantir, which Trump owns, Starmer and Labour, and the Ministry of Defence, Zelensky, they're making too much money off those drones. They're making billions from those drones. And so every time they came after me to try and shut me down because I was exposing their sins and their lies, it comes back on them even worse. So now I lost my LinkedIn, I lost my Instagram, they're coming after my YouTube. So now it's going to come back on them even worse. And I said yesterday to Putin and King Charles, you need to run, you need to jump right now because a whammy is coming direct from God that's going to knock them all down like a row of pins in a temple, in a bowling alley. And I can see it coming now because I've just let the ball go. Because he didn't listen. Don't mess with me. Donald Trump, don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. And now what's going to happen is those unredacted files are going to be naming a lot of people that are helping him fight this war in Iran and this war with Ukraine and Russia. And once that's exposed, all hell's going to break loose. Because it will prove that I'm right. And Andy Burnham has still got two people on the Epstein list, Yvette Cooper and Ed Miliband. Ed Miliband did horrendous things to children on those videos, and Andy Burnham has kept him in Parliament as Foreign Secretary. So he'll have access to trafficking children. And that's what I was saying. Don't think for 1 second that Andy Burnham is on the side of the people, because all they've done is replaced a shark with a stingray. Anyone who moves the houses of anyone who moves 10 Downing Street, where it's been for hundreds of years, it's an ultimate sign of disrespect. And I keep thinking, did he move number 10 away from London because he's anticipating some kind of bombing or attack on London? Because you know how Iran have said, we'll come for you. One of the first places they bomb is London. So was he getting himself out of the picture? because that's the first thing I thought when he said he was moving it to number 10 north, because he knows what's coming, but it's not going to happen. But that's the curse. Because Zelensky, Trump, and Starmer are cursed, meaning if you shake hands with them, you're cursed. Their karma is going to rub off on you. Because if you shook hands with them, you're meeting them on equal terms, because you meet people on their level. And if they're evil, if they're bad, evil people, you meet them on a bad, evil level. So if you shake hands with them, you're literally shaking hands with the devil. So then all the karma that they are forced to face, you will now take on as well. And the king shook hands with all three of them, Starmer, Zelensky, and Trump. So now he's thrice cursed. And I've tried desperately to protect him, tried desperately to warn him, to protect him, to get him to jump. All he has to do is dissolve Parliament, call an election. That's all he has to do. And all his troubles would vanish overnight, gone. But he's not doing that. So now he's on the brink of losing everything. And they've pointed Iran's bombs direct to London. And they've announced that he's moving out of Buckingham Palace. They know exactly where they are if they want to get hold of him, which means that all his loyalty to Islam would have been for nothing. But it also might be the thing that saves Great Britain from being bombed. That's the curse of karmic consequences. It's going to be up to God to decide which way this goes. But what I can tell you is that it is ordained. Iran have got the blessings of God to do what they're doing, because they're fighting the Epstein war. And now that this whole thing is coming out, that they have to present the unredacted files to the judge, and he's trying to ramp up his attack on Iran and Russia and all that. He's trying to avoid at all costs these files coming out, but he's not going to have a choice. He might as well just surrender. He needs to just surrender. It's over. And he, like Starmer, he's desperately trying to cling on to that door in the Titanic. So that he doesn't go down with the ship, but it's too late. He messed with me for the last time when I saw the damage that he had caused for Russia. So I just sat in the underworld. You know, I keep saying I'm going back to the underworld to sit with Uncle Odin until it was time for me to come back up again with my sword of truth. And you'll see the posts that I put up. I'll put a link in the description box. These were posts, these were spells. They were protection spells, incantations that I put up on my blog in 2007, 16, 17. So I'm well protected. But every word of what I wrote is true. And your sharp tongue, your lies, are going to cut your mouth until you admit the truth. And now you can see Donald Trump's mouth bleeding. You can see Elon Musk's mouth bleeding. Chris's mouth will be bleeding because they've told so many lies. They can't speak the truth anymore for the fact that their mouths are cut up, their tongues are cut, their mouths are bleeding. They can't speak the truth anymore because they've held so many lies in their mouth. So when they speak, it comes out as gibberish, it comes out as nonsense, it comes out as lies that catch them out. Not just lies, but lies that catch them out because their mouths are bleeding. You can't hide a bleeding mouth, which means they can't hide their lies anymore. And I put that in place in 2017. 2018, I think. Now, curse can only work if the person who gets sent the curse is found guilty by the people who are allowed to judge them in the ethers and the creation frequency. But if you put a curse on someone just because you're jealous of them, you're envious, because you're not getting what you want, because you're packing a tantrum, because they trigger your demons, then the curse comes back on you tenfold. Because then not only are you found guilty for trying to punish an innocent person and use the laws of the universe to punish them by trying to trick the gods, um, because you're smart enough to know better, it then comes back on you. So not only are you held accountable, but you're also charged and sentenced and fined for it. And it's always tenfold. So what you send to them comes back on you tenfold. So, like with the husband, he wanted the curse to, the spells to make her stay, and then he took her life, or then he lost his freedom, and then he lost his life, he lost access to his kids, he lost his job, he lost his everything, and now he's being talked about all over the internet for what an evil, sinful person he is. So what he sent to her in that curse has come back on him 10 times worse. That's what's happening to Trump. And the knock-on effect will be to Musk and Chris as well. But it will also, all the people that invested in SpaceX and XAI and all that, they're feeling the effects of the Utu on Musk. They're losing money now because they trusted the wrong person. And all the people that helped Chris will be feeling the effects as well. So this trifecta has caused quite the demolition process in tens of thousands of people's lives. For the people who looked at their social media and believed everything they said, to the people who invested in them, to the people who tried to cover up to protect them, like the cops, the doctors, all of that, they will all feel the full force of the effects of the Utu because they should have known better. Because when when you choose to act on something that you know is negative, that you know you shouldn't be doing it, you know that what you're doing is wrong. I shouldn't be writing this down, but I'm writing it anyway. I know that I'm breaking the law and committing perjury as a police officer by writing lies on a document that's going to send an innocent woman to get locked up and torment her children for the rest of their lives, blah, blah, blah. Knowing what they're doing is wrong, knowing that they should know better, it's a test of faith to see how strong their conscience is. It's a test of faith is is to test one's morals and ethics. Because if you have strong morals and good ethics, it means that you have faith that you're a good person and that all the things that you put out in the world aren't going to have a negative effect on you. And that's me. I fear nothing I say or do because I know that there's a greater purpose for it and none of it's going to come back on me. Because I only speak the truth, I only stand in truth, and I stand in faith that I'm being guided to do the right thing for all the good reasons because I have very strong morals and ethics. I keep saying my dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is the size of a watermelon, I'm convinced of it. Because your DLPFC is what decides, it's what gauges your knowing right from wrong. So if you have an underdeveloped one or a damaged one, it means you're more likely to commit crimes and acts of immorality and unethical behaviour. And we've got some of these people in courtrooms and wearing cop badges and signing prescriptions and people's freedoms away on a piece of paper. So they will all feel the effects, they will all pay for what they did to me, not just in a court of law, but in the courts of public opinion, because they'll be found guilty for committing crimes against an innocent person simply because either A, racism, they judge me because I'm Indigenous, or jealousy and envy, or because they knew that I was speaking the truth and that truth would catch up on them. and hold them accountable. And that's exactly what's happening to Donald Trump right now, because he screwed me over and stole from me. He stole some of my election campaign. He stole some of my predictions, passing them off as Q, QAnon. He stole the Dear Satan clause. Andy Burnham stole some of my manifesto too, like almost word for word. So now they're going to feel the full forces of the Utu. Energy vampires, psychic vampires. It's a lie in the fact that nobody can access your conscious mind unless you give them permission to do so. Nobody, if you think you have been cursed because you're having bad luck, because things are going wrong in your life, you need to reevaluate your situation and use logic, doubt, reason, common sense. You need to use your subconscious mind. Have I done something to deserve it? If it's black magic, if it's somebody who, if the practitioner is somebody that is like doing animal sacrifices and using plants and herbs and things like that that they're not allowed to use, then it's going to come back on them too. But if you know you haven't done anything wrong and you believe you're cursed, or you know someone's put a curse on you and you know you haven't done anything wrong, you have nothing to fear, because Satan, when he comes to collect the contracts that the devil gets mankind to sign up to, he does not touch the pure and innocent. He has no interest in coming after people who are pure and innocent. So if you know you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. But if you know you've done something wrong, if you know you've committed sins against innocent people, Donald Trump, I'm looking straight at you, Elon Musk, Christopher Black, Rocio, Ray Nunes, and all the rest of them, the FBI, the CIA, the Labour government, I'm looking all at you, the EU, NATO, then you've got something to fear. However, I've only cursed, I've only put a utu on 3 people. And that's all I need, because everybody else is going to go down with them who was involved. But they go down first. And now Donald Trump is watching his wife get affected, his kids get affected, other than Tiffany, I believe. They're getting dragged into Epstein stuff. You notice that? And this illegal war with Ukraine. And I say it's illegal because they're funding it, because they're making money from the weapons that's bombing both sides. They're not technically on any side but their own. The Labour government aren't on any side but their own. They don't care if Ukrainians get killed. They want Ukrainians to die because then they can have access to their minerals and metals and stuff. They want to ethnically cleanse the Slavs. It's been that way since Hitler, because of how rich the land is, and they're greedy. You're talking about Baal and Molech and that, they're greedy. Enough is never enough for them. Their, their curse is that of greed and lust. And they don't care who gets hurt as long as they get what they want from it, money. And now they're trying to take the king's money. But because they're the Fabian Society, it's all done at a snail's pace so that people don't notice. But I notice, because time slows down to speed up, which was the video. That's what the video was that YouTube tried to say, we're not going to monetize it. I don't want to monetize my YouTube channel. I have no interest in monetizing my YouTube channel. I'm not here to be an influencer. I don't want to be a content creator. I'm putting my stuff out there to as a teaching tool, as a learning tool. And then when I get justice and I get out of here, I'll go and set up my own channel for my Mystery Inside History shows that'll only be for that. And then when I set up my school, the social media will be all about the kids. And it won't be mainstream social media, it will be mine. So set up my IT company as soon as I get to New York. Um, so yeah, with psychic vampires, if you know they're there, all you have to do is say you have no power over me, and that's it. They're shut out. They're the six most powerful words in the universe. I'm not joking. It's not a spell. It's karmic law. It's written in the karmic rule book. You know how I say if you use someone's spell, the more people who use it, the less powerful it becomes. This isn't a spell. It's an incantation that is written in the laws of karmic justice, in the universal laws of karmic justice, as the laws that Satan himself wrote. You have no power over me, but you have to mean it when you say it. You have to show no fear when you say it, and immediately you that protective barrier comes up, because what you're saying is, I'm not letting you get in my head. And that's how curses work. They get in your head and they play on your conscience by eating away at your subconscious. They remove things like logic, doubt, and reason, which makes you paranoid and anxious and hypervigilant, on the attack. That's classic Donald Trump, because I got in his head and he keeps trying and he keeps trying, and I just turn the screw even harder, because he's not going to stop me from getting to America to protect those children, to save children from trafficking, and to protect children who are being silenced and misunderstood because they're a little bit different, because they're a bit weird, because nobody understands them, and because he didn't listen and Labour didn't listen. They didn't listen when God said, "Do not touch my anointed." And that's me. And that's the King David bloodline, which is King Charles and Vladimir Putin's bloodlines. I'm assuming mine as well, judging by what I've been finding out about my ancestors sitting in the ether frequency, in the ether element. We are we're supposed to be the trifecta of the holy bloodline, whereas Trump, Musk, and Chris, I mean, his last name's Black. He was given the name the Black McGregors, as in like the devil McGregors. So they're the three responsible for the trouble that the King David bloodline have been put through. They're the sole reason, through rigged elections, through lying to get the Holy Spirit of the Trinity, which is me, the all-seeing eye of the Holy Spirit of the bloodline, tried to get me killed, tried to get me locked up, shut up, blah, blah, blah. Those three are the three most responsible. It's Elon Musk's space lasers that are bouncing back on the solar panels that are causing all these fires in France and Spain and Canada and Scotland, and killing off the farmland to cause droughts. And Donald Trump is Lucifer. He's the one that they put in place to tear everything down so that we wouldn't have a monarchy, so that we would have the United States of Europe. But it's backfired because of the laws of convex linear reversion. The last time they went after Russia, that's when the Queen Mother stepped up and said, "We're not going to let that happen to Putin." So then I figured out the laws of convex linear reversion. And so now everything they fire at Russia and Putin, everything they fire at me is coming back on them tenfold. So Donald Trump screwed up real bad. And Chris is going to pay for what he did. And then they will have to pay with their own money to get me and my family on a plane so I can build my school and give my sister the life of your dreams. So yeah, so those posts, I'll put a link in the description box below. Um, Energy vampires, psychic vampires, they can only access you if you allow them. You cannot underestimate the power of free will. You have to give up your will in order to be energetically attacked, unless you're someone like me who was put here in order to judge the most evil people on the planet on behalf of humanity, on behalf of our ancestors, on behalf of our gods. I was born for this role. I was never going to escape being a karmic judge. I rule karma. I literally am the ruler of karma. And because my name is named after a karmic judge, and my black moon, my 12th house is Scorpio, and my star sign is Scorpio, which means I'm double karma. I'm double the occult. I'm double birth, double death. I'm front to back karma, judgment, and the occult. So I know how this works. And keep your eye on Donald Trump because he's unraveling at a rapid rate of speed, especially now that this has happened with my YouTube, especially now that Putin is finally admitting he got screwed over by Trump. He's been waiting for peace deals. But these people don't want peace because they make too much money. There's no money to be made when the world is at peace. But they don't realize that the wars that they started was done, was ordained by God to happen so that these people could be exposed. And now the whole world sees exactly who Donald Trump is, and his administration, and Labour, and Zelensky. Like, people can't deny it anymore. It's undeniable just how evil and untrustworthy these people are. That these people, with causing the droughts, stopping people having access to food and water and fuel and stuff, when they could be stopping it. We all know that they have the weather weapons, and yet they're not using it to create rain during the draft. It's all done by design because it was the Noah's Ark project that I was talking about, Elon Musk and all of that. That was the whole plan, and they're trying to enforce it. But all it's done is proven everything that I said that they were planning and wanted to do right. And now they will, because it's already been exposed, regardless of whether they take, everything that I have on my social media and that down or whatever. Everybody knows now. Everybody sees I was telling the truth, and so now it's all coming back on them. And if you've seen what's been happening with Elon Musk and SpaceX and XAI and Tesla, he's losing billions. He's hemorrhaging money. He's no longer a trillionaire. He has lost billions of his own personal money, and he's lost all his friends and investors' money as well. And then he sets about fake bots, trying to big up his shares in that on other people's channels that he's paid to big him up, to make it look like he has support. But if you look at their channels, they've only been subscribed for like a couple of months, or they only have like one or two or no subscriptions and no videos, which means they're bots. So he's lying, and he's been caught in the own web of his own lies. If I can just save King Charles, if I can bring peace to Vladimir Putin, then when I leave to go to America, I will be able to sleep a lot better, because I don't want us to lose the monarchy, because I know what's going to happen as a result. And yeah, it's great for the Republic, but it means that we have no firewall to protect us against dictators if we no longer have a monarchy, because the British government have to answer to the king, and we're about to lose him. He'll probably go when Burnham gets booted. Like he's for as long as Andy Burnham is the fake prime minister, we've still got a king, but it's more than likely looking the way that as everything is starting to be revealed, especially these unredacted files, when people like Manuelson and Starmer and Miliband and Cooper and that are all getting named, people are going to point the finger at the king and say, "Get him out. We're done." But it's not going to go the way that they planned, and that the EU will scoop up Great Britain and say, "Now use the euro, and you're now part of the EU." It's not going to happen like that because they're all going to get named along with Donald Trump, because that's why they're doing all of this, to avoid being held accountable in a court of law for being in those files. That's why the war with Iran is called the Epstein War. That's what people need to wake up and finally realise. The media have been protecting them, social media oligarchs have been protecting them because they're all in on it. And the one person who's on those files who doesn't deserve to be treated, who doesn't deserve to lose everything the way that he's going to, is King Charles. He just dealt with everything the wrong way because he trusted the wrong people, and that's his lesson. That's what he needs to understand. His lesson is the curse is hitting you because you're not listening in regards to trusting the wrong people. You need to make better choices about who you let represent the crown and the country. And he's not listening. So now, the more he doesn't listen, the worse it gets for him. And you can see it playing out in real time, the Utu, because as Trump is getting swallowed up by being exposed for the Epstein thing, for fraud, for embezzlement, for wire fraud, um, perjury, all that sort of thing. As all of that is starting to come out now and be fed to the world, um, you're slowly seeing other people's names get dragged into the vortex, and then in their lives are coming down as well, like Ivanka and Jared Kushner and that. But they stole my movie, The Dear Satan Clause, so it's hilarious karma because now Satan's coming after them because they broke the laws of universal karma. So I got granted the Utu, basically, is what I'm saying. They looked at my case that I put against these people and said, "Yep, she has cause for this. Yep, she's right. We haven't found a single lie in anything she said. She's right. Everything she said they're doing, they've done. Everything we know they're doing, they've done. So now we're coming after them." And I said on X 2 years ago, last February, a year and a half ago, just over a year and a half ago, when Trump falls, his family will go with him. And that's exactly what's happening. And now Barron is going to have to stand in front of a judge and explain himself about the Tate brothers. So even his youngest. And yeah, and because I had to give Macron that shower, I'm assuming because they were discussing Russia in the dream, that God is saying that if they touch Russia, Macron is next. Because I had to prepare his body. And it's like he knew why he was there. So he can either do the right thing or he's the next to go. So my finger of point, that's my version of the AK-47. My finger of point, my FP72. When it points and calls you out, you will be held accountable. So they didn't listen in regards to not touching Russia. So they're going to feel the force of the Utu. And because Donald Trump is funding most of it, isn't he? America's funding most of it. Smiled to Putin's face. And the thing is, Putin knows. I told him what he was doing. I told him what he was going to do. I told him he was going to be betrayed. by Musk and Trump. I told him he was responsible for the drones on Chernobyl, him and Biden. I told him he was responsible for the bombing of his house and Starmer. Like he knew. I told him time and time and time and time and time and time again, and he didn't listen. So now everything that's happening to him is because it's his own fault because he didn't listen. But that doesn't mean to say that he's been punished by God. He's just been taught a lesson that when God sends a message to you, you bloody well listen because it's to protect you. It's to save your life. It's to save your country. It's to save the world from having a war that's going to be fought by robots. We are the countries that can't afford to pump out a lot of these robots and drones. Um, the soldiers are going to be meat grinders on the battlefield, where they'll just come along and take their organs. It's what they want. But if the king and Vladimir Putin just listened to me, all their troubles would vanish overnight. They've both been plagued by the same devils. They were both tricked by the same cult. It's the exact same people in Putin's life pitting him against the king. And the people in the king's life are the same people pitting him against Russia. They're being played, the girl who saved two kings. It's Spain blaming Persia and Italy. It's Spain playing Persia off against Italy so that Spain can take over Persia and Italy. It's the girl who saved two kings. It's literally playing out in real life. And they need to wake up and realise that. And the second they wake up and realise that Labour and the EU, well, I mean, Putin knows about Labour and the EU, that they need to wake up and realise that for the king, Labour, and Trump and Musk, with the satellites, the AI, the digital, the whole thing, it's all been used as a weapon of war to bring down the monarchy and the Slavs of Europe, because of the King David bloodline. And when you're talking about Lucifer, he wants to be the new Messiah. He wants to be the son of God that God reveres. And God's like, you're not my son, and you never will be. You're a usurper, and you're evil, and you belong in hell with Satan to receive your punishment for everything that you've done ever since you had a problem with the fact that I loved other people, that I loved mankind more than I loved you. Donald Trump has a why me complex. Why didn't my mother love me? Why was my mother ashamed of me? Why was my father abusive? Why the alcohol? Why me? Why me? Why wasn't I? Why aren't I special? Why can't I be special? How come the Indigenous pauper from New Zealand gets to be special and not me? I'm president. Wah, wah, wah. Why do people like Putin when everyone says he's a dictator and not me? Wah, wah, wah. Why me? That was Lucifer's problem. Why me? Why not me? Lord, why not me? Because you're vain, because you're a narcissist, because you're greedy, because you're selfish, because you only think of yourself and you don't belong here. Boot, kicked out, fallen angel. And he didn't listen. So now the abyss is opening up. They're falling into a black hole deeper than they ever thought was possible when they came up with the plan, when Tony Blair was coming into power to put him and Donald Trump into politics and that together at the same time to bring down the monarchy when the time was right, if they could kill the Queen off fast enough. And because Donald Trump stupidly admitted it in that Q post. And that's the thing. That's why the king is being punished, because the evidence is there. You can't ignore the evidence. It's in his own words, it's in his own actions, it's in his own tweets, his own social media. It cannot be denied. Keir Starmer even admitted that stealing that oil tanker from Russia was illegal. Yeah, it's probably illegal, but the Attorney General told me to do it. We didn't have the legal papers in place, but we did it anyway because their mouths are cut with their lies. Their lies are being exposed. You know, the blood in their mouth, you can't hide blood in your mouth. It comes out and they can't stop it. So they're exposing their own lies now because they're standing in the presence of God, and God is forcing them to be held accountable for their actions, including in courts of law, which is where Vladimir Putin needs to target Trump and especially Starmer for the stealing of the oil rigs, because it's piracy and terrorism, and the king will be held accountable because it's his waters, and he's not waking up. He's not pulling himself. He needs to cut himself off from all of it and go over everything that I've said, because I know they take copies of everything that I put out there, which is why, you know, when I lost Instagram and all that, I'm not bothered because I know people are taking copies, screenshots and copies of everything that I've put out there. Um, he needs to seal himself off from his government. He needs to spend some time going over that evidence away from anything electrical, away from laptops, away from phones, away from, like, switches broadband off so that they can't send the pulses, the EMPs, to try and distract him, and or go and sit under a tree and go over all my notes, because I guarantee you there will be files of photocopies and all of that, and he needs to go over everything, and then he will realize pretty quickly, holy shit, she was right. And if I don't act now, I'm going down with them, and he doesn't deserve to go down with them. And he should be ringing Vladimir Putin and saying, what do we do? How can we stop this? Like, what can we do? Like, we need to work together to make sure that Trump and Labor and that put an end to this war. That's what a real king would do. That's what a king who is woken up would do. Because he might have made some money out of this, but the little bit of money that he's made from it will be nothing compared to all the money that he loses. All his homes will be handed over to the public. They'll become public trust buildings. They'll get turned into hostels, and his face will be taken off his money. There'll be no mention of the royal family on anything, no mention of HM, nothing. He will be completely vanished from history, because that's what happens when you fall into the abyss. When karma comes to pull you down into the abyss, um, and when you're sent into the abyss, it's a completely different tunnel you go down to the underworld. It's not like the same as when you go into the underworld. When you fall into the abyss, you completely bypass um, judgment in the underworld, because you've been already been found guilty before you fall. So then you go straight down to Satan. You don't even get to go to purgatory. And when you go to Satan, it means that you start getting erased from history. You get wiped from history. The past gets rewritten, and you're never seen the same again. So that's where the king is at. And Vladimir Putin just needs to stand up for himself and get the law involved in what Starmer did. Because the Labour Party are funding the drones because they're making money from the drones. It has nothing to do with fighting a war to take the side of good over evil, and everything to do with fighting a war because they are destroying good, because they're evil, because they're making money from it. They're making money from bloodshed. They are on neither Ukraine's side nor Russia's. They are not on Iran's side either, or Palestine's, or Israel's, or Kenya's, or Nigeria's, or any of that. They're not on any side but their own. And now people see it, and that's part of the Utu. So curses only work if you've done something to deserve the punishment. If you are innocent and you know you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. But if the person who put the curse on you has done so without having permission to do so, um, while the curse might still work, it will come back on them worse than it ever will on you, because you have to have permission to have that kind of control over someone's soul destination. And if you sacrifice animals or you take from plants and trees and that you don't have permission to use, if you take like a life, a human life, an animal life, a plant life, and then it's going to come back on you tenfold anyway, because then you took the life of something innocent in order to, because like it's not to favor the gods, it's to favor the person paying, because the gods will not allow you to take the life of an innocent in order to gain power or cause an injustice to someone. It's against the laws of universal karma. So understand what a curse is. It basically just means when the universe or God, whoever you believe in, your ancestors, are forcing you to pay for the damage that you've caused to humanity or in the lives of someone who's been deemed pure and innocent. But a curse, like the paranormal, is in your head. It affects you mentally first. It'll start playing on your mind because of it's testing to see whether you show guilt, shame, or remorse, which is subconscious. And if you don't, and you don't try to seek salvation and make up for what you did, then it starts playing out in the rest of your life. And as you can see from Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Keir Starmer and that, it's already showing on their mental state of mind that the curse is starting to eat away at them. It's delicious watching Donald Trump. He's drowning and he's trying to hold on to things to stay buoyant, and all he's holding on to is his own poop. He's in the sewer, and the only thing he's got to keep him buoyant is poop. But poop sinks, so he's going down in his own shit, and I love it, and it's hilarious because I used to say he was the Golgothan from Dogma, the shit demon, because he's full of shit. He talks shit. He shits himself. He's surrounded by shit. He's surrounded by shit eaters. And you can't polish a turd. That's what my mum used to say. So keep watching, because Trump's the next to go down. And then it'll be all over America. Then you'll be able to start again. And then hopefully you'll open the door and let me in. And then I can go to upstate New York and build my school. And then we can put this whole mess behind us and start again. And be friends with bloody Russia. But Putin's lesson is the same as King Charles. You need to admit that you trusted the wrong people and that those people led you down a dark path that has almost cost you everything that you've worked hard to build, that your ancestors and the people of your great nations worked hard to build for you to live good lives. And because you trusted the wrong people and ignored the warnings, this is God giving you a kick up the ass to try and wake you up, to say, if you don't wake up now, it's only going to get worse. But at least when you die, you won't go to hell. The king will just go to purgatory. So do the right thing. Wake up, admit. You have to admit, um, because you two are steeped in pride and ego. By admitting you made a mistake, by admitting you were wrong and trusting the wrong people, it recorrects the karmic scales. But you have to be the one to go through an ego death in order to say, I admit I was wrong, which for people like you is going to be, it's asking a lot, but compared to the fact that you're on the brink of losing billions and possibly even your own lives if they carry out what they're wanting to do, it's a small price to pay to admit you were wrong and to stand in your shame a little and say, I'm sorry, God, what do I do? What do I need to do to make this right? Admit you were wrong. Get rid of the people who are causing the trouble, cut out the cancer, clean yourself off and start again. And I had a dream this morning, and the only bit I remember of the dream was that I was a farmer and I was washing blood and poop off these cows who were happily eating the hay. But these cows weren't injured or anything. I was just cleaning them because they were covered in poop and blood. And cows are, cash cows. The cows can make a farmer money in a lot of ways, and they serve as they serve a great purpose to humanity, and they are loyal and they're loving. And because it was blood, bloodshed, uh, trying to think, blood on a cow, the sacrifices made for the greater good, because the cow is a representative of the greater good of humanity. And they're also the circle of life. They represent the circle of life. They eat the grass, we eat the cows. When we die, we become grass, the cows eat us. So in the end, we both end up eating each other because that's the circle of life. So the bloodshed, the sacrifice that's necessary for the greater good. Um, and the farmer, obviously, I was the farmer and I was washing them down. So I'm the one planting the harvest for the greater good, meaning my channel. They're trying to sacrifice my channel, my social media, and that because what I'm putting out there is for the greater good to serve humanity. But that it's not going. It's all going to get washed away, purified, and I'll get money out of it. I'm going to basically saying because I've served my purpose for the greater good of humanity, I'll get justice because of the sacrifices that I made in order to do it, and I'll get financial recompense as a result. So, winning my lawsuit, which I've always known, my teacher always said that I'd win. I've never had any doubt in my mind that I wouldn't win when she told me that people were going to come against me and that I'd win in a court of law. I'd win. And then I would be seen by everyone for who I really was. And people would see me as being the reason why all their troubles got washed away because the courts will come after them. From the cops to my ex to my students, the courts will come after them, to the ICC, to the ICJ, the Hague, whoever, the Crown Prosecution Service, the Supreme Court, the European Court. They're going to go after them all because they've committed the greatest sin against humanity just so that they could make money from it. At no point in history has anyone ever tried to pull off the level of evil and sin, killing off the planet, making people lose access to water and fresh air and bright skies and all of that, um, polluting our bodies, polluting our food, polluting our water, causing these wars just to protect themselves because they do bad things to children. Like, can you think of any time in history where anything worse was planned than what's going on in the world right now? And they thought they were going to get away with it. if it wasn't for those pesky kids that were coming to me all the way back in the days of my blog, who were telling me what they were doing, and I was making it public. So my fight for you, humanity, people of Earth, King Charles, Vladimir Putin, goes all the way back to my blog 2013. 13 years, lucky for some. But they didn't physically start coming after me until 2016, 2017. 16 is when I became aware, because the students and that were brought into my life. I do wonder whether Rocio wasn't sent in on purpose, but um, like a plant. But 2017 is when they started targeting my social media and, you know, coming after my personal life. I lost my radio show. I started losing Martin. But I mean, I'm not sorry he left. He's the biggest mistake of my life. But he was also the biggest lesson. I learned a lot, and without him, I wouldn't have my Beyond Life program, or the Porcelain Rabbit, or Lucian's Dragon. Right, so there you go. Curses. That's how they work. They're not for everyone. Not everybody is allowed, like Palo Santo would. Not everybody is allowed to handle them. There's only a few sacred people that are allowed to use Palo Santo because it's a sacred tree. Well, the curses are the same thing. And just remember, if you think someone's targeting you and you know you haven't done anything wrong, you have no power over me. And you will instantly be protected, and everything they try to send you, even if it's gossip, even if it's like if they're looking at you the wrong way, if they're sending you bad vibes, negative vibes, they're lying about you, they're gossiping about you, you know, they're trying to target you at work or anything like that, and you know it because you feel it, you just say, you have no power over me. You don't even have to say it out loud. You can say it to yourself in your car, in the toilet. You have no power over me. And you will immediately feel like Iron Man. You'll immediately feel like Superman. You'll feel it because then you've realized in that moment in time you took your power back, and they can only affect you if you let them. Gossip can only hurt you if you let it. If you know none of it's true, and you stand in your truth, and you don't lie, and you don't react in a negative way, it has no power over you. So that's all you got to say. If someone's attacking you, just say, you have no power over me. You have no power over me. Who do you think you are? Then God goes, they've finally got it. And then boom, immediately your biorhythmic parameter, the ion particles around your personal space become fortified, and you become protected with an energetic bubble, and they can't touch you anymore. Just water off a duck's back, so to speak. Whereas people like Donald Trump, I have all the power over him. And now we're going to watch him fall because he didn't listen. And neither did Musk. So now watch. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite. Mwah.